Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai. Sorandana Bhaja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramhamsa Parivraj Sismarvaya Charnanda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Basari Gaur Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Madhava Gokapinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Vindham Simathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Gangamahi Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Sangha Veda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. Glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. Glories to Sri Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. This morning I'm reading from Sri Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 15, entitled The Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Text 16 through 18. This is 18 on the board. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shantushta Kena Varajan. Shantushta Kena Varajan. Na Varteta Pivarina. Na Varteta Pivarina. Upasya Jhaivya Karpanyad. Upasya Jhaiva Karpanyad. Griha Palyate Jana. Griha Palyate Jana. Santushta Kena Rajan. Navateta Pivarina. Upasta Dhirya Karpanyad. Griha Palyate Jana. Santusta Kena Varajan. Navetat tapik pardinam aputya jhairya karpanyad griha palayate janam santusta kirvarajam Naveta tapi varina Aupasya jhivatana Vihapalyate jana Antistakena varajam Varina Mataji. Santushta. A person who is always self-satisfied. Kena. Why? Va. Or. Rajan. O king. Na. Not. Varteta. Should live. Happily. Api. Even. Varina. By drinking water, uphatsya, due to the genitals, jivya, and the tongue, karpanyat, because of a wretched or miserly condition, griha palyate, he becomes exactly like a household dog. Jana, such a person. Translation, my dear king, a self-satisfied person can be happy even with only drinking water. However, one who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and the genitals, must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. Please repeat. My dear king, a self-satisfied person can be happy even with only drinking water. However, one who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and genitals, must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. According to the Shastras, a Brahmana or cultured person in Krishna consciousness will not enter anyone's service to maintain body and soul together, and especially not for the satisfaction of the senses. A true Brahmana is always satisfied, even if he has nothing to eat. he can drink a little water and be satisfied. This is only a matter of practice. Unfortunately, however, no one is educated in how to be satisfied in self-realization. As explained above, a devotee is always satisfied because he feels the presence of the Supreme Lord, the presence of the Supersoul within his heart, and he thinks of him 24 hours a day. That is real satisfaction. A devotee is never driven by the dictations of the tongue and genitals, and thus he is never victimized by the laws of material nature. End of purport. Om Ajnanam Tanandasya Ajnanam Gyanan Salakaya Chakshurmijham Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishnam Sai Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vachaline Nevisha Shashandavari Hastarazatani Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 I read the translation again, text 16. One who is content and satisfied and who links his activities with the Supreme Personality of Godhead residing in everyone's heart enjoys transcendental happiness without endeavoring for his livelihood. Where is such happiness for a materialistic man who is impelled by lust and greed and who therefore wanders in all directions with a desire to accumulate wealth? Text 17. For a person who has suitable shoes on his feet, there is no danger even when he walks on pebbles and thorns. For him, everything is auspicious. Similarly, for one who is always self-satisfied, there is no distress. Indeed, he feels happiness everywhere. Text 18. My dear king, a self-satisfied person can be happy even with only drinking water. However, one who is driven by the senses, especially by the tongue and the genitals, must accept the position of a household dog to satisfy his senses. So the last chapter in this glorious 7th canto, instructions for the civilized human beings. So we see the civilized person is satisfied. Self-satisfaction. This is what everyone is actually looking for. Because the soul in the normal state is always satisfied. Satchit Ananda. Feeling sat. Sat is eternal. So that means satisfaction. When you're feeling eternal, you're feeling satisfaction. And Chit is your awareness, and the Ananda is the happiness that you experience in different ways in the spiritual world, at least in the spiritual planets. So this is a natural condition of the living entity. But when one somehow or other ends up in the material world, then one is victimized, mentioned here, or dictated by the material modes of nature into a misidentification, taking the body as one's self. And therefore the senses need satisfaction. We need Ananda. We need that Chit, consciousness, knowledge, and we need peace, eternality. So you can't artificially take these, separate these from the living entity. But that's what the material world does. So we're always feeling incomplete, always feeling dissatisfied, because we're not complete. We're not experiencing Ananda, we're not experiencing full, complete knowledge, and we're not experiencing peace. Constantly the senses are demanding. I mean, they have to be met. The senses, in the matter of eating, sleeping, and defending, then the things have to be addressed. You can't just ignore them. You can't say, well, I'm not the body, I'm a spirit soul. Even if you have that knowledge, you still have to meet the demands of the body, otherwise you'll suffer. You can't stop sleeping, you can't stop eating at the moment. But to minimize them, that is the that is the instruction for civilized beings. How to minimize eating, sleeping, mating, defending. Because these are all the... You don't need these things in truth. The soul doesn't need these things. Not need for these things, otherwise they cause suffering. If we don't sleep, we suffer. If we don't eat, we suffer pain. So already it's bad enough in the material world. But then on top of that, you have we have another covering of Maya, which we make ourselves. Right? No one is being taught nowadays how to be self-satisfied, right? Except for the few schools, gurukuls, etc. No educational system. There's no department of self-satisfaction, how to be satisfied. They have all these other departments where you can become trained to become successful in any specific field. There's so many departments, but no department how to be self-satisfied in the university. So this is the missing link for happiness in life. This is actually the real secret of happiness in life. Because one is not satisfied. This will be explained more in the coming shlokas. If one is not self-satisfied, one is greedy or lusty, then no matter what facility one gets, one still won't be satisfied, not for long. And that's our own experience, that we've most of us have lived in the material world, and we've tasted the material world, and we weren't satisfied. Therefore we started to chant, we come to chant Hare Krishna. We want an alternative. There's a better alternative. That's what we've heard. So Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada says, it's a positive alternative. This is Krishna consciousness is actually the reality. But we've been taught that we're the body, and the body means the senses, and the goal of life is freedom from suffering and enjoying the senses. Right? Everyone will say that everywhere, every country in the world, every institution. This is what they're teaching. So we're putting another coating over us. Already we're addicted. Already we're in ignorance, identifying ourselves as this body and part of this material world. And now we put further coverings on it by thinking that getting stuff will make us happy. Surrounding us with stuff will make us happy. Get the latest gadgets, a nice community, a nice environment, a nice house, a nice job, we think this is how we've been trained as a measure of success in life. But that's not a fact, because no one is actually satisfied by these things. Momentarily there may be some feeling of satisfaction that you've moved up in the position. But ultimately it's not going to satisfy the self. So, like in yesterday's shloka, he said even if one is poor, one shouldn't endeavor to improve his economic conditions. So That's revolutionary. The whole point is eradicate poverty, get out, lift yourself up, become. Why you want to live in a jute stick house? Why don't you live in another place with nice apartment there? So naturally, you think better. But if you're not satisfied, if you're not peaceful, then even if you get the best apartment, you're taking the same mind and senses with you. You'll still be unhappy there. So it's not the stuff that actually brings happiness. Of course, a certain amount is required, so that it's not too much of a struggle, that you can live quite easily. But the recommended process for advanced civilization is to simplify your life. And so this example here on the 17th is a nice example. It says, for a person who has suitable shoes on the feet, then you don't worry about the pebbles and the thorns. Like when we walk barefoot, we're always conscious of where we're going. But when you have nice shoes, you have a whole freedom of that thing. You don't have to watch where you're putting every foot. So like that, for a person who is self-satisfied, then he always experiences that freedom, even in the midst of the material world. Even the eating, sleeping, mating, defending have to go on, and even but still, you have something satisfying. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatmana. This is talking about the very advanced Brahmana, detached householder, Jnani. This chapter is talking about that kind of person, a very advanced person. So but without that self-satisfaction, then nothing can satisfy you. It's just like a fish out of water cannot be satisfied with any amount of facility that is offered to the fish. But that's how we've been taught. So when you're endeavoring to secure things for a better position, a better future, then the nature of the material world is that as soon as you address the material world, as you confront the material energy, the modes of nature, then you become more entangled. Right? There's karma, there's action and reaction. There's a law there. If you touch electricity, you get shocked. That's immediate reaction. But also there's more subtle reactions. As soon as you deal with the material energy, then you're implicated, and there'll be some kind of reaction. So that is why it's suggesting you lead a simple life. Become attached to Krishna. It says remember and become self-satisfied, understanding, remembering the Lord who is in everyone's heart. So even in society, when you're in a crowd of people, you can see that Krishna is in everyone's heart. So you're remembering Krishna like that, and you're living in the world. And even if you don't endeavor, this means if you don't endeavor for your livelihood, that means a person who doesn't endeavor for his livelihood, a civilized person, that means he has realization, he's advanced. He's not bewildered by that. And just that consciousness, that will give him his livelihood. His living will his food and everything will come naturally, just because of his consciousness. That's a mystery. Although he's not endeavoring, everything will come. Therefore, he doesn't have to worry about it. And if it doesn't come one day, he doesn't worry about that either, because it's going to come anyway. So even if theoretically, if we understand, we're not maybe on the platform of self-realization, but philosophically or theoretically, we can understand that if life is all about satisfaction and happiness, then we can't actually change it. We can't change our karma. We can decide our destiny by our activities and our consciousness. We can direct, but we cannot change the karma which is to come. And so if you boil down karma to mean happiness and distress, then that's already fixed in this lifetime. So how can you change that? You can't. Whatever you do, you won't secure more happiness, and whatever you do, you won't suffer any less than what you're supposed to. So if you accept that fact, then why we should endeavor to improve our economic condition, our living condition? If it won't make us, we're not going to get any more happiness out of it. Initially we may, because generally we act how other people want us to act. Right? We dress how other people expect us to dress. We eat like we want to eat, but we do everything else, more or less everything else, according to what people want us to do. What is expected of us in your particular culture that you come from. There's a expected norm of behavior. So, and it's looked down upon if you're poor, right? It's not very prestigious. And the persons who are higher or richer or have more stuff, they feel better off because we've been educated with that stuff means equals happiness, right? Facility equals happiness. That's how we're educated. So then they think, yes, this is it. But although they're not really satisfied, but their satisfaction is I'm better off than my next door neighbor. And the poor person, he's dissatisfied because I should be on this level, but I'm not. Therefore I'm suffering. But if I get on that level, if I get these things, then I'll be happy, because that's how we've been taught. If you get the right car and the right house and the right partner, then that's success. Then you'll be happy. But who is happy, actually? Even among the so-called successful people, no one's really satisfied at heart. So it's just Maya. It's just an illusion to think that these things will bring happiness, and you have to work so hard for them. So if you can tolerate them as much as possible, then that's civilized life. If you can ignore them as much as possible, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, that's high civilized life. Because as soon as you address the material energy, then you're getting a reaction for it. The moment you address it, the moment you confront the material energy, then there's a reaction for it. So the idea is to deal with it as little as possible. Like yesterday's one, he took the yesterday's sloka was it? But he takes the occupation of a python who doesn't endeavor passionately to get his food. He just, because they're so slow, pythons, and they just wait till something comes and then they grab that and eat it. And we have heard in the previous chapter from Prahlad Maharaj is finding out the nature of saintly persons. What's that called? Saintly persons or civilized person. Activities. This is instructions for civilized being. Oh yeah, they have almost the behavior of a perfect person. He wasn't endeavoring to get stuff, and he was an extremist on the other side. He wasn't doing anything, right? He was just laying there. So when Prahlad asked him, "What are you doing?" He said, "Nothing." He said, "I can see that, but how are you maintaining yourself?" Somehow or other. Everything is destined. My food is destined. My suffering is destined, but only so much. So I'm not going to starve to death because I'm not due that much suffering. Even if I don't look for food, I'm going to suffer so much, and that sooner or later someone will bring me food. Right? You can try. Sit out under a tree and don't eat. Usually people will start bringing you food. Right? Gurukul, no. They go on prick ground with nothing. And They get their bhoga every day. Something happens. So you can't. You're not allowed to suffer more than what you do. So it will come automatically. So why you have to endeavor for it? Why waste the whole valuable time that you have when you're not sleeping, trying to avoid the problems and get the facility or opportunities to enjoy it, when they're going to come automatically? Maybe not when and how we want them, but it's going to come anyway. The essence of it is going to come. It means happiness, our happiness and satisfaction. But as soon as at the moment you endeavor for happiness, at that moment your troubles begin. Right? Because now, materially that is, because now you're going to have to work to achieve your desired goal. So that's work. So your trouble begins. And because you're trying to cut through the material energy with all its obstacles, so many barriers, then that's difficult. And also you're going to get a reaction for that, interfering with the material energy, counteracting the material energy. There's a reaction. So it's suffering in the beginning, it's suffering in the end. And then the so-called happiness, the so-called happiness that you do get after endeavor, ultimately, that sense satisfaction is your greatest enemy. Why? Because, yes, there is happiness. I have achieved it. So this fortifies the false ego. Yes, you can do it. You are the doer. You are the enjoyer. You did it. You worked for it. You got it. And now you're enjoying it. Yes, the feeling is real. It's real. I have done it. I am enjoying it. And then we're going to be convinced, yes, I am the doer. Aham bhogi. I am the controller. I am the enjoyer. That's how Maya works. But of course, it doesn't last. Your satisfaction doesn't last very long. But still, I've done it once, I can do it again. And if I'm really smart, I can do it again and get on top and do it all the time. This is the dream. This is the dream of our leaders in the world, of educators and politicians, right? The flawless society, no poverty, no illiteracy, everyone happy, happy, happy. Dream. But that's their goal, right? Nothing else. Right? It works all right, but actually you're working in a very fearful situation. Every country has a big army, and they spend tons of money on it. We have to pay out tax. We have to work hard to get money, and they take that money from us. Even we worked hard for it, they take tax from it. Why? Because they need an army. Why? Because they're fearful someone will come in, even if there's no war. But there's always something going on. They can't stop the wars, right? United Nations, what can they do? Why don't they ban all wars, United Nations? No, the wars are just too expensive, they're too destructive, no more wars. They can say that, the United Nations, right? No more wars. But there's always a war. Somewhere there's a war going on. I don't read the newspaper. But I guarantee there's a war going on somewhere. And there's always one or two wars going on. They can't stop it. Because that's the nature of the material world, especially in Kali Yuga. The nature is, it's oppressive. But so much energy, so much money you have to put just in case. So it means fearing, eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. So this fearing principle is the biggest thing. Everyone is actually fearful in the material world. Always afraid of your supposed enemy. That's why two of the biggest budgets in the world, one is defense, and the other one is? What is it? I can't hear. Health, health. Medicine. Defending, You're buying all these medicines to protect you against the attack of these diseases that are going to attack you, right? So therefore you have to have defense, medicine. So war, armory, and medicine. That's the two. That's what most of the budget is spent on. Because even we're not sick, even there's no war, we're still going to make medicine. We're still going to make bombs, just in case, because we know that something's going to happen sooner or later, right? That's history. So you can't avoid it. Even you know it's nothing there. There's no reason to fight anywhere, but still we know it's going to happen. We know we're going to get sick sooner or later. So therefore we have to take precaution. So that this way, the material world is actually oppressive, but it doesn't solve the problems. The more bombs you make, the more people are going to die. The bigger the bomb, the more quicker the people are going to die also. You have to use them, right? If your back is against the wall, preservation is the first law of nature. If you've got an atomic bomb, you'll throw it, right? Otherwise, so it doesn't. Nothing is resolved, but it actually gets more and more complex. And as you get further away, you get from Sati Yuga, then it gets more and more passionate and ignorance. So then people become more and more bewildered. So they work even harder. They work even more frantically. So everything is fast nowadays. Everything has to be fast and, right? Extreme sports and everything has to be, over the top. Passionate. So you're becoming more entangled. Not just goodness. Now you're getting into passion and ignorance. It's even more binding. But the result would be even more horrible. Because the intelligence will be covered by passion is one thing. You'll get greedy, and in ignorance you become insane. If you follow the tamagun, people will become completely unintelligent. They won't know what is right and what is wrong. They take the opposites for each other without any knowledge. So that's a design of things from Sati Yuga to Kali Yuga. And they get so bad, then clean up. Let Kalki comes, he cleans up, takes away all these people with funny consciousnesses, and then Sati Yuga starts again. So there's no actual solution. We've seen the history. There's no solution. It all ends in Kali Yuga. People become like animals, running around like this. Big. Every time. For 30 or so years. That's it. Eating whatever you can get. And there's no milk, no fruits, no vegetables, and no sugar. So, Haribol. So that's how it all ends up in the big sphere of the plant. The real good time is a change from. The only time it gets better is when after Kalki comes and Sati Yuga. Then Sati Yuga is kind of maintained. It's good. It's a good time. But then it starts to decrease. That's the nature of it. But we're trying to, when we don't understand these things by knowledge, because there's no way of experimenting about this. We're very short-lived. But as soon as you try to counteract this force, this law of nature, then you get into big trouble. The whole universe is against you. But we're very proud and think we can do. We can adjust and we can make it nice. But the whole plan of the Lord is there, and nothing can interfere with that. It'll go exactly how He wants it to go. So we may talk big and make some show, but at the end everything is taken away, both individually and collectively. So that's a problem when you start to interact with the material nature, to try to improve the material nature, for better living condition, and to enjoy it. We're not enjoyers. We're not the enjoyers of material energy. It's Krishna's energy. We're nothing to do with the material energy. So one should act as the enjoyed, not the enjoyer. That is perfect. That is perfect civilization. When you're acting as the enjoyed, you're meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. That is the meaning of our, the ultimate meaning of our existence. We're meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. And our activities are meant for his pleasure. They're not meant for my pleasure. It's revolutionary. One should not try to get out of his, even if it's poor, one should not try to improve his economic condition. It's revolutionary. One should act as the enjoyed, not the enjoyer. It's revolutionary. Where did you hear that? Which school teaches that? It's revolutionary. But this is a fact. We're meant to be enjoyed by Krishna. But we become separated from him. We've forgotten that our situation. And then we're trying to enjoy separately from Krishna. Krishna's out of the equation now, but the idea of enjoyment is there. So let me enjoy without Krishna. Enjoyment is there, and under Chinmoy Bhyasat, the nature of the living entity is to enjoy. Part of our nature is ananda. It's natural to enjoy, but when you're enjoying connection with Krishna, that's the ultimate enjoyment, because Krishna is a reservoir of pleasure. So when you're connected to the reservoir of pleasure, then you can't do any better than that. When you separate from the reservoir of pleasure, you come to this inner, this material universe, which is ignorance, based in darkness. By nature it's dark, that's why we need a sun. But by nature it's dark. And it's a place of, according to Krishna, a place of misery from throughout the whole planetary systems. But because we're born in that miserable condition, suffering condition, then suffering is normal. So therefore one doesn't question. It's normal. Right? So people don't really question, so they have to be woken up that you should question this thing. why I'm growing old, why I'm getting sick, why I'm dying, why are these things forced upon me? But no one is teaching like that. They say no, that's the modern would be now, yeah, okay, these things are there, but we'll overcome, don't worry, in the future we'll get the right medicine, keep you young forever. Don't worry. This is what they're working for, trying to control the material energy, in other words. So this is the Maya. And as more you try, the more you become implicated, the more reactions you will get. So then you have to come back to get those reactions. So as Prabhupada says, like the scientists, they think they're getting further and further to the truth. He said, but actually they're getting more and more away from the truth, more and more into darkness. Because they're trying to find out things about the universe, but they're only examining the effect. They only examine the ignorance, the universe itself. So the proposition is we connect to the reality. This is the proposition here for the instructions for civilized human beings. Don't spend so much time on this material energy. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending have to be there, but they should be minimized. As much as you need, take that much, not more. Then the rest of that time, that you can connect directly to the spiritual platform of self-realization, etc., etc. Of course, in bhakti, it's not two separate things. You're eating, sleeping, mating, defending, although they're material. If they're connected with Krishna or are done according to the way Krishna suggests, then they're not binding anymore. If we see Krishna in everything, then the same activities, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, they're not binding, because we're doing it for Krishna. So even in those so-called material activities to sustain our existence, we're seeing Krishna in that. So that is perfection. So these are the instructions for the civilized human being, that satisfaction is there. The soul satisfaction is there already. You are Satchit Ananda. So one should get education. How can I experience that happiness which is right next to me, right inside? And instead of working so hard and becoming exhausted trying to manipulate the material energy for happiness and satisfaction. It's so difficult, and no one is actually successful. But here it's saying you turn it, come inside, come to this. What you want is already there. Your happiness is already there. Your peace is already there. But now it's covered. So don't look in the wrong place, because it's not in the material world. What we're looking for is not in the material world. That's satisfaction and happiness. So this is the instructions for us. So try to tolerate as much as possible eating, sleeping, mating, defending, and you'll see that it will come. These things will come. All your needs will be met, and from the happiness of self-realization, Atma Tattva, Krishna consciousness, then these things will become less important. Now they're all important, right? Because they're main things. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending, they're major issues. But then they become secondary issues. They become unimportant when we connect with Krishna. Then these other things become unimportant. Of course, this is in the advanced stage, but this is what these instructions are for. The instructions for civilized human beings. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Sri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Any comments, question? Nobody?
Hare Krishna. So when we talk about trying to become comfortable, just to do our service, Prabhupada describes comfortable as not uncomfortable. So just like we have predestined happiness and distress, is it also predestined for each soul his comfort level, like what he needs to feel comfortable to do his service? You know what I mean?
On the material platform?
Well, I mean, for example, I have been living in a very comfortable situation for almost all of my life, very comfortable. Now I come to Mayapur, and I'm finding it very uncomfortable. So I'm trying to do little things that make me feel comfortable so that I can continue on serving and doing something, hopefully, in Mayapur Dham. So like when I first got here, I was enjoying walking. Then it became so hot, I got a bicycle. I thought, okay, now I'm comfortable. Then it became a struggle with the old body on the bicycle, so I got a little electric scooter. And now, okay, now I'm comfortable. And then I see a nice motorcycle go by. I think, now that would be a lot easier. But I actually realized, no, my comfort level is right here. I'm okay now. So I stopped going further. So, you know what I'm saying is that, do we all have our own individual comfort levels that once met we can stop? Or as a devotee, do we tend to think, like I was thinking, I have a scooter, maybe I should get a motorcycle. Then I'd be comfortabler rather than just comfortable. So is there a level where I can stop and just say, now I'm comfortable. I don't need this, I'm comfortable.
Well, that's self-realization. That's the level where it stops. But you got something better. You're not interested in trying to improve your material situation. You're getting the happiness from the self. So then you're not going to look for it in the material world. So that's the ultimate issue. But you have to live, it's, should have mentioned that when he said, I've seen people live according to their conditioning. He said, when you're Americans, you come to India, you don't adapt. He said, you're living on the same level as you do normally. That's natural. But he said, if you find it difficult in Mayapur or in India, he said that is to teach you tolerance. So we have to as tolerant as possible. And simple living doesn't mean living under a tree necessarily. No, if it's your karma, simple living means not endeavoring hard, not struggling to live, or thinking I should have this, I should have this. That's not simple living. Simple living means your life is easy. So if it's your karma, you have a lot of stuff, a lot of facility. So you can have a house here and a car there and a yacht here and another car in that place, and you can have a lot of opulence, but you're not working hard and you're not anxiety about it because it's, you've inherited it or whatever. It's your karma to have that situation. So it doesn't mean you have to go and live under a tree. No. Because if you're under a tree and you're working hard to maintain that, in anxiety about maintaining the area around your tree, then what's the point? No, whatever's easy for you to live. So that's an individual thing. Your own comfort level, that's an individual thing. And see, where you come from now, you think it's austere, you see. But if I came from the village, from a Jewistic house, and live in that, then I think, this is nice. This is opulent. So it's the same apartment. You're thinking it's very austere, and now I'm thinking it's very opulent. So relatively speaking, it's just a place to stay. But according to your conditioning, then you think this is opulent, and you think this is. So the material world is like that. There's no good or bad in the material world. It's just our perspective on it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. You mentioned, or we hear a lot, that it doesn't matter how much you endeavor, you're going to get the same amount of enjoyment or suffering in your life. It's already destined. And we understand it like theoretically, and it makes a lot of sense. But what can we practically do to realize that and actually be able to apply that?
I couldn't hear the middle part. Minimize what?
What can we do to realize that? And what can we practically do to realize that?
Oh, to realize. Well, it's to say there's only one system for everyone. There's Shravanam, Kirtan, Vishnu Smarana, these 9 devotional processes. The process is for everyone. We need blessings from the devotee to actually realize if you know someone who has realized it, then associate with them. That's always the quickest way to have their association. But by reading about it, if you really want to understand it, then you study that particular subject and do some introspection on yourself. If you become serious, then Krishna becomes serious with you, and then he reveals it. If you're a serious student, then Krishna will reveal these things. So whatever you're serious about, then Krishna reciprocates. So it depends on our endeavor, also our desire, how much we really want to know about it. How can we become free from it? But then again, over and above that is why you want to become free from it. If you want to become free, so just you can be happy, then that's also, we have to improve on that. The consciousness is the most important thing, for not the particular activity or our particular status. It's a reason what we're actually doing it, not why we're doing it. It's not what we're doing, it's why we're doing it. So the purpose of that, in the beginning, it will be for the same 2 reasons as any materialist. We want peace and we want happiness. We want a better future. That's why we're doing it. So, but until you've actually relationship with Krishna is there, realized, then you'll continue like that. But this is a recommended process, because that self-interest, that desire for my own interest, that will be purified by following the process. That is the beauty of it. Because we don't have it. We don't have realization. We don't have love of Krishna. We love ourselves more than Krishna. Right? My existence is more important than Krishna at the moment, than Krishna's. Because I can't appreciate him. I don't love Krishna. So my existence is more important than his. My happiness is more important than his. My future is more important than his, than anything else. But we're going to Krishna. We're one of the 4 pious people. We're going to Krishna to achieve that. But that desire itself will become purified if you follow the path of devotion seriously. It'll purify intelligence, you see. Then you can understand, like Dhruva Raj, what am I doing? After broken glass, there's something much better than this. Just being, out of the material modes, there's something better than that. You could be with Krishna in the spiritual world. So contemplate on the actual subject matter, and then contemplate on the actual goal. Whatever it should be done for Krishna's pleasure. Of course, he likes us to be self-realized, so he doesn't mind us studying, becoming jnanis. He's recommended it. But what the actual purpose is for the jnanis is to become free from the modes of nature. But our actual purpose is when we're free from the modes of nature, then we can serve Krishna purely, without any self-interest. So wherever we're at, we take to this process of Shravanam Kirtanam and these other 9 processes. It's a wholesome process. It purifies the senses, it purifies the mind, it purifies intelligence, it purifies the false ego. So that's what it is. As long as we stay in the process, as long as we stay connected, because it's Krishna, it's hearing about Krishna, it's serving Krishna, it's serving the deity, it's making friends with the devotees, it's eating prasadam, it's hearing the holy name of Krishna. That's purifying. So we just got to stay in contact with it somehow or other, 24 hours. And then over and above that is your intent or your desire to actually know Krishna, to actually be reinstated in your original position as his a loving servant. So different levels, but the process of bhakti works as a whole thing. But which aspect you like, you can go that way. That's okay, it's fine. But always bear in mind what the goal is to please Krishna. And you can do that right now, you see. You don't have to go through this whole process of self-realization to please Krishna now. You can say, I'm doing this for the pleasure of Krishna. I'm coming to the Bhagavatam class because it's the pleasure of my guru. It's not who's giving class today, shall I go, shall I not go? No, Guru says you should attend Bhagavatam class regularly. All these anarthas will go away. So we're doing it to please Guru, because when Guru is pleased, Krishna is pleased. So like this, we can try to understand the essence of whatever that essence is supposed to be. It's meant to be done as a service to Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure. So we've got to get ourselves out of the center and put Krishna there somehow or other. You've got to take yourself out of the center and make Krishna the center. It's difficult, but that's our program. But it can be done immediately. You don't need all these processes. It can be done immediately. What's stopping you from saying, Krishna, I am yours now, and I'll do whatever you want. Whatever your authority tells me, I'll do that, and I'm doing it for your pleasure, not for my pleasure. It's not coming from the heart, but at least it's coming from the intelligence. You've got to start from somewhere. There's no bhava, there's no bhava. So you have to, work from the platform of intelligence. That's why Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. We don't have Rati. Hare Krishna. Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.